By the way, let's digress for a moment. Do you think the Prince Harry book is coming out?
I think it will come out. I mean, my experience of books is that he's been paid something like a £35 million advance, half of which has already been paid. If it was due to come out later this year, which was the talk, my assumption based on my experience of publishing and writing now 5 books is that it will have been written. So are they going to pulp this edition so that he can update? I know the Palace are understandably very concerned about what's going to be in this book.
Well, I wasn't thinking so much of the update. I was thinking about what the reaction might be in Britain, which I suppose still matters to some extent to him, because having been present during the morning, having been here in Britain, having been out there with the crowd, having been part of the royal family in all the ceremonies that took place, to go and write a book now where he's, I mean, in my view, making a living out of insulting his own family, seems pretty tough to me.
Well, I think that's the feeling of a lot of people, and you know, he's not. It really, we have to wait and see. The Palace are obviously concerned about it. And we know from the things that Harry and Meghan have said in Oprah and in other interviews that they're not afraid to criticise the institution. They're not afraid to have a pop at members of the royal family. You know, that Oprah interview put the royals at the centre of a really controversial storm over those allegations of racism. So belts and braces time. But I cannot believe that the Prince is going to hand back half of that advance and pull the plug on the book. But, you know, we've yet to wait and see on that one. And if readers are interested in looking back at the Queen's legacy, looking at the royals, there is my book. There's a plethora of books out. And as you would expect in the light of this, everyone rushes to get a book out. But I think what will make certain books stand out are the ones that have been researched over a period of months and years.
She said, plugging her own book. But I'm sure legitimately, because as you say, there's a plethora. You went on the internet and how many did you find?
Well, I found one that was the very same title as this, so please buy the right book, because the other one is by a collection of experts, whatever that may be. There's a good 10 or 12 out there at the moment, so there's plenty of choice. But I think, you know, it comes down to who you read regularly in the papers, who you trust, who you know has good sources and good insight. And, you know, I think there's it's wonderful that there's so much option and choice out there. Comes down to you as the reader as to where you're going to go with it.
And do you think readers actually want to have the most reliable sources? Do they want to get as close as they can to the truth, or are they stimulated by outrage and scandal? In other words, perhaps they wouldn't mind if it weren't entirely truthful.
No, I think any sort of real royal fan wants a genuine insight. They want authentic sources. I mean, you will see sources in my book, but you will also see named sources, because I think it's very important, you know, that I was able to get certain courtiers and people that have worked with the royal family over the years to go on the record, because I think that gives you credibility. There are some instances where people just won't. So you will see a royal source in there, but you will also see quotes by the late Queen's cousin. You will see an interview with the Queen's cameraman of 40 years who's never spoken, but he spoke to me.